Ciao, my name is Ron Falconi, and I am the host of Meet Your Neighbor. I had this idea back in the fall of '06 where I wanted to, invite local politicians, local business people, local professionals so they can come down to the studios and perhaps all of you could meet your neighbor. We have a very special guest today. She is a physician in the Cleveland Clinic in Strongsville, and her name is Dr. Sandy Hong. Dr. Hong, welcome to the studios today.
Hi, thank you for having me.
How are you?
Good, wonderful.
Dr. Hong, can you tell us something about yourself that maybe not too many people know about you?
Gosh, well, so about 6 months ago, I decided that I wanted to swim Alcatraz.
Swim Alcatraz?
Yes.
Oh, you have to tell us about this.
So I decided that I was on a meeting and our tour guide had actually said, you know what, people sometimes swim Alcatraz, for races every couple times a year. And I thought, I can do that. Though I hadn't really been swimming regularly since I was 16, and that was years ago. So I decided, you know what, I can do that. So
How far is it?
It is, if you can go straight, which I didn't, it's about 1.25 miles. It's 60 degrees, and they say there's about 5 different types of sharks.
No.
So about 2 weeks ago, I swam Alcatraz.
Oh, wow.
I did, and so it took me about 47 minutes to do it.
Jeez.
And I think the most hairy part of the whole trip was actually bringing my kids out there on the plane. But
Wait, did you go from the mainland to Alcatraz or Alcatraz to
no,
the
so
mainland?
they actually would get you onto the ferry.
Okay.
They would ferry you out, and then you would be on the edge of the ferry, and someone would be yelling, "Jump, jump, jump!" and you jump off, and then you have to start swimming as fast as you can into the mainland, and
wow.
into a little alcove. So, but. Yeah, it wasn't as fun as I thought it would be, but it was an accomplishment, and that's probably something that people don't know about me.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. I have a medal to prove it.
Oh, wow. I should have brought that today. Hey, can you go over again where you work and how long have you worked there?
Sure. I am an allergist and immunologist
Okay.
with the Cleveland Clinic,
Okay.
and I actually work in Strongsville at the Cleveland Clinic in Strongsville.
Okay, and how long have you worked there?
I have been there for now 6 years.
Okay. You said you're an allergist and immunologist?
Correct.
How can you, why did you choose that particular specialty?
Yeah,
What sparked your interest in that?
I had actually decided to do a fellowship right after my residency.
Okay.
And at the time, I loved the fact that in allergy and immunology, you actually get to see both adults and children.
Okay.
So you can actually see whole families. And I loved the fact that you could actually really make a difference in the patients' lives. It's surprising, people with allergies. You think, hay fever, allergies, sniffles, whatnot.
Right.
They've actually done quality of life studies on those individuals, and their quality of life is considered, they ranked it as bad as people that had had open heart surgeries,
Oh my
so
gosh.
had heart bypass surgeries. So the amount of improvement you can actually do for patients is just immense. And I just love the fact that you were able to see a whole family and you see generations. And
So you see both adults and kids then dealing
do.
with
I
their
do.
allergies and all that.
I do.
What do you see as some of the more bigger issues facing the field right now?
I think there are lots of different things. The one thing I personally have actually been concerned about is that there is a group of individuals that may actually have food allergies, that actually have severe food allergies. And typically there are middle school age children, but it can actually range from 5 years old to their teenage years, but that are bullied in schools because of their food allergies.
Okay. When you say bullied, what do you mean by that?
So, for instance, if you have a child that has a severe peanut allergy, and a child actually, for instance, they by accident ate something with peanut, and they ended up immediately having a severe allergic reaction where maybe they can't breathe, they start vomiting, they feel like they're going to pass out.
Okay.
And then they have to be rushed immediately to the emergency room. They see how traumatic it is for their parents, etc. And then in these situations, the concern is that there are children and even adults that may actually say or do things that threaten the child that knows that they can have a severe allergic reaction. So, I've had patients actually come into the office where they've actually been concerned for their lives, where they actually don't want to go to school anymore because they've been threatened, and it happens repeatedly. And there was a study out actually a year ago. It was probably one of the only ones, it is the only one, on actual bullying in children with food allergies. And it appears that about a quarter of all children with food allergies at some point will actually have been bullied or teased about their food allergies.
No. What do you think can be done to combat that?
I think that the important thing is for the children, for parents, I'd start there, for parents to actually talk to their children about what's going on at home, if there are any problems at school, especially if they notice a change in their personalities. They seem withdrawn, low self-esteem, etc. At that point, if you actually do find out, it's important for parents to be diligent and follow up with the schools. A lot of the schools, and all of the public schools, it's law to actually have anti-bullying policies in place. And so from that standpoint, schools are just very, very, very proactive about taking care of it. But if you don't get the results that you need, it's very important to continue to be diligent and continue to kind of move up the chain if necessary.
Sure.
So in the public schools, superintendent, et cetera, if you're not able to get what's needed for your child to keep them safe.
Okay. You mentioned peanut allergies. What are the more common allergies that you see, and how do you think people should deal with them?
Yeah, so food allergies affect about 4% of the population.
Only 4%?
Mm-hmm. Okay. Except we're talking about most of the individuals that are actually going to have allergies are actually going to food allergies are actually going to be children. So it's higher in those individuals. But
is it like all kinds of foods, or is it like...
so the most common ones are actually peanut, tree nuts, and those are things like almonds, cashews, walnuts, milk, egg, wheat and soy, and shellfish and seafoods. So things like typically like crustaceans, like the shrimp and the crab and lobster, and then the bivalves, like the things that open, like mollusks.
Now, when kids, or as they grow older, is there a possibility that they can grow out of their allergies?
Yeah, so most children that actually have, say, wheat, soy, egg, or milk, 80% or better will grow out of those food allergies.
Is there a time frame on that, or is it
we used to say that by age 5, say milk allergies and egg allergies, by age 5, if you hadn't grown out of it, less likely to grow out of it. We've actually been finding that now kids actually may be taking a little longer, like teenage years, they're still growing out of it. So there's always a chance of growing out of it.
Okay.
While on the other hand, like things like peanut allergies, only 20% will grow out of it. Tree nuts like the almonds and cashews, only 9%. And people like myself that develop a shellfish allergy kind of later in life, a lot of times adults will kind of hang on to their shellfish allergies for good.
Okay. Is there a way to overcome that? To overcome, like, say, a shellfish or seafood or allergy later on?
At this time, right now, the only thing we actually have is complete avoidance. So complete avoidance, and if you actually do have an allergic reaction, immediate treatment, and that can entail using epinephrine, so self-injectable epinephrine, antihistamines, but going to the emergency room, calling 911 and going to the emergency room, especially if you need to use the epinephrine.
Okay. Dr. Hong, can you tell us about your educational background?
Sure. So I actually went to NEU UCOM, and I did a 6-year BSMD program, so 2 years of college, and actually did 3 years of college and 4 years of medical school in Rootstown. I did internal medicine at Summa Health Centers for 3 years.
For your residency?
I did.
Okay.
And then I did a year of being a chief resident where I was in charge of the residency program.
That must be fun.
That was actually a lot of fun. I did a lot of teaching that year.
Okay.
And then after that, I actually went to Boston. I went to Mass General, which is a Harvard affiliated hospital. And I was there for 2 years to do my fellowship in allergy and immunology.
Okay. Okay.
And then I came back to Cleveland.
Now, where do you live here? Where do you live in the area?
I actually live in Richfield.
Richfield,
we moved there about 3 years ago.
Okay. When you say we, are you married? Do you have any kids?
I am. I actually am married to I guess he would be right out of high school sweetheart. We had actually met the first day of college, which would have been when I was 17.
Oh,
And we actually got married about 8 years ago. I usually have to ask him about the times, but I think about 8 or 9 years ago. And we have 2 children.
2 kids, that was wonderful. Hey, what are some of the things, when you're not dealing with allergies or immunologies, what are some of the things you like to do for fun?
Gosh, so during this past 6 months, it's been swimming, so I can get ready for Alcatraz.
So it took you 6 months to prepare for that?
You know, yes, I took 6 months to prepare for it, but I love spending time with my children and my family, all of our families in the area, both sides, my husband and mine. And we just adopted, we rescued a Labrador, a Labradoodle. And he's 1 year old, and he's only been with us for about a week, but we've been to the metro parks about every single day, even rain, and it's been raining a lot this past week. He smells like a smelly dog, a smelly wet dog, but we're all getting to know each other, and that's wonderful.
That's good. Doctor, what's a typical day for you like at the Cleveland Clinic in Strongsville?
Gosh, so...
Is there a typical day?
You know, I guess so. I come in and see my staff, and then I start seeing patients at 8:30.
Okay.
And I, again, am able to see adults and children.
Okay.
And then I finish the day probably about 4 o'clock. So I see a whole range of different things at the site. So patients can have food allergies, like we'd mentioned.
Right.
People can have typical allergic rhinitis, so kind of more hay fever-like symptoms.
Right.
Allergists actually see asthmatics, so people with asthma. We see people with asthma. And then, you know, people with, say, different types of allergic reactions. So, for instance, to insect stings like bees, wasps, hornets.
Think about that.
Yeah, and drug allergies. We see people with atopic dermatitis, so eczema, and a lot of children with eczema. It's interesting, children can do this kind of allergic pathway where they've got allergies to start, they have food allergies, then they develop eczema, then they develop asthma. They kind of go down this kind of pathway. But we see all of that.
Oh, gosh. Hey, Dr. Hung, for every guest on my show, I'd like to play a game of fill in the blank.
Okay, that sounds like fun.
When I was a child, I blank.
When I was a child, I played with my sister constantly. We were inseparable. My parents worked, they had a Korean grocery store, and they worked long hours, and so my sister and I spent a lot of time together. We were inseparable all of our childhood years.
That's good. Well, the one place that I want to travel to is blank.
Gosh, the one place I would like to travel to, I have wanted to travel to Africa.
To Africa? Any particular part in Africa?
You know, it's probably, no. It's probably to do a safari and, with the kids, and I think that would be dangerous yet interesting.
Oh, I can imagine with all the wild animals there, and you probably want to go on a safari. And all that. What about when I retire, I blank? When
I retire, I would like to live near my children.
Okay.
So, you know, we'll see where that is. But hopefully it'll be here, because I love Cleveland. So hopefully it'll be here. But I think I see my parents, and they actually have all of their children nearby, and they see their grandchildren growing up. And I think I would like that for myself. So it'll end up being wherever they are.
Can you give any neighborly advice to people who are watching right now in Brunswick Hills, Wadsworth Township, or perhaps people watching on the internet right now?
Yeah, I would say take care of each other. I think that that's really important. If you see someone who needs help, you know, stop. You know, if someone's carrying extra bags and they need help doing that, just take that extra minute and help someone, and it really can make their day.
That's really good. Dr. Sandy Hung, thank you very much for coming down to the studios today. It's
been a
pleasure.
Thank you for inviting me.
Oh, well, you know, my name is Ron Falconi. I am the host of Meet Your Neighbor, and I wanted to thank Dr. Sandy Hung for coming down to the studios today and talking to us about allergies and immunology. Now, if there's anything more profound to be said, so my name is Ron Falconi. I am signing off. Arrivederci.